Hello, everybody. Oops, there's a problem with the guitar. Uh, okay. Yay, we have got the light. It's all automatic. Automation to its rescue. No switches, no turning it off, no turning it on. Everything is automated based on my activities. So before I start playing something and telling some secrets, let me go ahead and check if my guitar is tuned. Is it sync with the current frequency? Let's try to do it manually with the help of this guitar sync app. It is very important in our day-to-day life as well to always check our vibrations and check our frequencies. Are we sync or are we out of sync? It is very important to keep in a check. The best way to do it is to just calm down, sit in a relaxed, straight position, or you can just do it by standing as well, or you can do it anywhere. Sit down, take a deep breath, and just focus that your breath is going in and it's just simpling out. Rest of the other things is just mere noise. The only thing matters at this moment is just our breath or your breath, and that's how you can check if you're in sync or not. To see if your body's in sync, just watch your breath and you'll be sync. So first let's see if our guitar is in sync with its natural frequency. No, it's not. So before I do anything else, I'll just go quickly and I'll try to connect this microphone that I bought from DJI. It's the latest mic from DJI and it's so small. And let's see if I can capture something on this live. Let me check if I can do it everything in a perfect manner. Let's see. I have turned on my mic. Do let me know if there is a change in the quality of sound. Let me go ahead and see if it's connected. Okay, so 2 new devices are connected. That's perfect. First I'll tune in my guitar and we'll see if everything is working fine. Okay. All right. is working properly, we will check it. Our guitar is tuned right now. And let me go ahead on Instagram on my another phone and see if everything's on sync. I'll just tune into a different account just to check if everything's working fine with the new mic. Okay. Everything's good? Okay. Hello. Everything's good? Everything is good, I think. Hello. Everything's good? Everything is good, I think. Hello. Everything's good? Let's see. Perfect. It sounds perfect. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll connect our speaker to play our background track like the last time. The similar way that we did the last time, and then I'll tell you the secrets. After a nice good session, I'm gonna tell you the secrets from my book. Now let's go and play something real nice. Alright, our speaker is connected now. is the audio all good? Or because I've connected this mic for the first time, I got from DJI. I don't know if it's working properly. Just let me know if it's working properly. I think it's a great practice for now. And I'll be telling you the secrets before I crack open my Coke. Cheers, guys. I'm gonna tell you the secrets of professional selling. The sales wizards of secrets of professional selling. Now, this book was written by Brian Jeffrey, and I have the original signed copy of this book from the author, who is Brian Jeffrey. This is the book I was very much interested to give it a read and learn a lot from it. And I would like to share the wisdom, the timely words of wisdom for the professional salesperson. Whether in life, if you are selling something, if you're not selling, at the end you're selling yourself, or you're selling your time, and you want to make the most out of it. And the sales wizard, that is this book, is going to help us to make the most of our self, which is what we are doing right now. It's trying to sell ourselves at the highest rate available. Now, this book is dedicated to salespeople everywhere who, while knowing sales isn't a profession, know that it can be done professionally. Herein lay the secrets of selling professionally. Now, we'll read through the table of contents and we'll see what's in this book. So this book is, first of all, it talks about why this book. Why do we need to read this book? And what is in this book? And why do I choose to read this book? It talks about attitude and motivation, organization and self-development, sales strategy, cold calling and prospecting, qualifying, sales presentation, objection and put-offs, closing sales, sales approaches, and final words of wisdom. Now, the sales wizard says, if you always do what you have always done, it's a very important wisdom from the sales wizard, which is, if you always do what you have always done, you'll always get what you have always got. So if you're not doing anything, and that's what I've been doing for all the time, then you will get nothing and you have always got nothing. And if you always do what you have always done, and you'll always get what you've always got. Wow. Just make a living, make a difference. Don't just make a living, make a difference. Right now, people are stuck to just make a living and not making a difference. I would share a personal story from my past. I've always woke up late. I've always slept late. I've never seen sunrises and I've never seen sunsets. Well, there was a different kind of me, but now I have been starting to wake up early, getting to the gym. You can see a difference in me. I've started doing skincare. I've taken a great care of myself. I've been taking a great care of what I eat, what I consume, mentally and physically. I've been tracking whatever I eat. I don't eat anything that is junk. Well, it is very hard to leave and ditch the Coke, but right now it is a Coke original because I couldn't find Coke Zero, so that's why Coke to the rescue. I'll tell you one more thing. I've started drinking water. So I was a bad person because I was not drinking enough water. Now I make sure that I finish 2 liters of this whole huge jug. I try to finish it every day. 2 liters a day, non-negotiably. I have started liking this word non-negotiably because everything that is a priority, you have to do it non-negotiably. If you want to sleep 8 hours, you have to do it non-negotiably. If you have to go to the gym, you have to do it non-negotiably. You have to be consistent and be focused. And that's why I really like this quote from the Sales Wizard, which says, if you always do what you have always done, then you'll always get what you have always got. Don't just make a living, make a difference. It's very important right now in this information age to stop being into conventional ideas and start making an impact. Start making a difference and not just a mere living. Now, why this book? First off, this book isn't a book in the classic sense in what it doesn't have a beginning, middle, or end. Nor does it have a plot or storyline. It's basically a literary jigsaw puzzle with a few missing pieces. Now, this book is a collection of articles intended for professional salespeople who want to up their game and be the best they can be. It is full of hints and tips known only for those folks who understand that selling isn't about grab the money and run. It's about helping your prospects make an informed buying decision. The articles were written over several decades and have their genesis in either my personal selling experience or in epiphanies from helping the salespeople. I was coaching to solve sales challenges they were having. As the years went by and his articles accumulated, I realized I had inadvertently amassed enough sales secret to make a book, and this particular book. Now, the best thing about this book is this quote. If you always do what you have always done, and you will always get what you have always got. Stop making a living and start making a difference. Start making an impact in your life and the people around you. That's why right now I'm live. I'm trying to make an impact in my life, starting to make impact in others' life as well through this life. It's all about living together and upping together. Now, for convenience's sake only, I've divided the book into 10 sections. Each starts with a brief explanation of why I considered it important. You don't need to start at the beginning of the book or at the beginning of any section for that matter. Just pick an article, any article, and you've got the complete picture about some aspect of professional selling. For example, if you're a problem having with the price objection, read the articles pages 168 and 171. Now you get the idea. You will find some of the gems of wisdom, that is secrets, and repeated in numbers of the articles. That's because they are worth repeating. The articles are short, okay? They are easy reads that can help you not just make a living, but make a difference. Now, to your customers, your company, and the sales profession, and more importantly, to yourself. This book could well be your doorway to increase success in professional sales. Now, a lot of people have joined, and I want to still make it clear about this whole thing. Is the Sales Wizard wants to say, if you always do what you have done, just listen to this. If you don't follow up with any of the articles that I'm going to read from this book and talk about it, but if you just remember this quote, it's everything right now. Just this. and you have to listen about it. This particular quote is gonna go and change your entire perspective towards life. If you have always done what you have, if you always do what you have always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Now, coming back to our first chapter, that is attitude and motivation. That is the first thing of this book. You have to have the right attitude and the right motivation. Now, it's no accident that this section has the most articles, as attitude and motivation are critical for a salesperson's success on the journey to become a sales professional. Now, when you consider a salesperson with a perfectly acceptable 30 to 40% closing ratio has a 60 to 70% no sale ratio, you begin to understand why attitude and motivation are critical to their success. Who in their right mind wants to start their day knowing they are likely to get rejected 2 or 3 times before they get a sale? Now, what can sometimes appear as rejection is the salesperson's lot. It comes with the territory. Maintaining a positive attitude is important, as it is the ability to self-motivate. For the most part, we are alone, and when we fail down, there is no one there to pick you up when you fall down, because you're all alone in your sales journey. There would be nobody to pick you up. And we have to do it ourselves. That's what self-motivation is all about. Picking ourselves up. You have to get up by yourself. There's nobody gonna come and pick you up. It's just you. That's all about self-motivation. Now, this article is in this section explores the up and downsides of selling and provides some ideas on how to stay motivated. We need to know how to stay motivated. And selling is easy, for sure. It is very easy. Selling is the easiest thing that you have seen in the entire process. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being told by people who have never sold anything in their lives that selling is easy. Now, these people seem to think that there's very little to selling. Apparently, all we do is go around all day talking to people. What could be simpler? Now, the gift of gab. I always mentally cringe when someone tells me they feel they should be in sales because they really like talking to people. Well, the gift of gab is certainly helpful. It's a salesperson's superior listening skills that really makes the difference. That and an ability to get in front of as many prospects as possible on any given day. If selling is so easy, why isn't everyone doing it, or at least doing it well? It's been said that selling is the hardest, high-paying job in the world and the easiest, low-paying one. To that point, while commissioned salespeople are the highest paid people in North America, the average sales income is quite low. What's wrong with this picture? Everybody sells. Every now and again, I run across people who delight in telling me that everyone sells, even if it's just ideas. After I agree with them, I ask if they have ever had to make their living by selling. Where if they didn't sell, they didn't eat. Well, that's different, of course. It's different, all right. It's different as being a spectator at the Indy 500 versus being one of the drivers. What could possibly be hard about driving a racing car? All you have to do is tap on the accelerator and steer. Yeah, sure. Whether you're a salesperson or a race car driver, it takes skills, drive, dedication, and determination to succeed. It's easy to discount all that when you have just sitting in the stands. I'm the first to admit selling looks easy. In fact, most jobs, when done by a skilled professional, a skilled practitioner, looks easy. There's a tendency to discount the many hours of training, blood, sweat, and tears involved in becoming proficient at any occupation, including selling. The emotional roller coaster. Now, another thing people who aren't in sales never see is the emotional roller coaster many people and many salespeople ride day after day. We probably go up and down more times in a day than the average person does in a week. I mean, if you are a 30% closing ratio, which is reasonably respectable, by the way, it means you get approximately 2 to 3 no's for every yes. Who wants to go around getting rejected all day long? Want to or not, that's what happens of most of us in sales. We are in the business of failure. Born salesperson. The born salesperson is another myth that plagues our profession. A lot of people seem to feel salespeople are born and not made. I certainly haven't read any birth announcements for an 8-pound, 7 ounces sales baby lately. How about you? Not too likely, right? There's no doubt in my mind that some people are better suited to sales than others, but I don't believe in concept of the born salespeople. My research has identified 18 different types of sales temperaments or selling styles. Not all these styles are well suited to every type of selling environment. And in fact, 2 shouldn't really be in the sales at all. It's easy to have mismatch between the individual and the job. I call this trying to put a square peg into a round hole. You can do it, but there's usually some damage to both the peg and the hole. Now, one size does not fit all. Yet another selling myth is that if you can sell one thing, you can sell another. It's sorts of one size fits all universal salesperson concept. It would be nice if this was true. All we need to do is to train a person to sell, and then they could sell anything and everything to anybody. There's a certain amount of truth in concept of the universal salesperson. If someone truly understands how to sell professionally, they can probably sell anything if they want to. Now, just as the basic laws of aerodynamics apply to a light plane like a Cessna 150 as well as its huge brother, the Boeing 767, the basic laws of selling apply to products and services, tangibles and intangibles, big and small scales. Now, what differs is the selling environment. The person who enjoys the relative safety of the retail sales environment, where customers come to them and may not be comfortable going out to visit customers, or worse, having to make calls to drum up businesses. Similarly, the hunter type salesperson who enjoys the thrill of the chase can get bored in the sales environment, where he is expected to provide long-term care and feeding to the customer. Finding new customer is his specialty and not providing customer service. Now, improving the odds. When a person who has the natural talent for selling and is already very good at it takes sales training. Okay, without training, I don't think anything you can make a sales. If you can make a sales, good. If you don't, you need to get into training. Something interesting happens. He or she becomes even more skilled and has more control over the selling process. Now, before the training, the person tends to do things more by instinct than on purpose. After the training, it's the reverse. They start doing things on purpose rather than operating solely by instinct. That doesn't mean that they get every sale, but it's sure it improves their odds. If outsiders really want to find out how easy selling is, let them walk in our shoes for a few months and it might change the perception. Unfortunately, this isn't likely to happen. Now, if outsiders really want to find out how easy selling is, let them walk in our shoes for a few months. So the next time some non-salesperson tells you selling is easy or that you have a soft job, simply smile and nod in their agreement. You know the real truth, and that's what really matters. That's what it is meant to be a professional. Just smile and nod and simply nod in their agreements. Now, selling is giving salespeople a bad name. I had a revelation. I don't know, revelation. I had a revelation that other day as to why so many folks dislike salespeople. Are you ready for this? They'll dislike us because we are selling. But wait a minute, you say, isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? Well, yes and no. Wrong perspective. I don't know anyone who deliberately sets out to be sold something. But yes, sold to know. When I decide to get a new television, I don't say to my spouse, let's go out and get something to sell us a new TV. Or when I'm wandering around to do it yourself playground, Home Depot, etc. I'm not scouring the aisles trying to find someone to sell me something. I'm there to buy. Opposites don't always attract. The words buying and selling have opposite connotations, much like the words up and down, push or pull, and yin and yang. Rules, rules, rules. Most of us are familiar in the golden rule. I don't mean the one that says he who has the gold makes the rules. I mean the other one. You know, the one that states, do unto the others as you would like done unto you. This is very, very advanced. But anyways, altruistic as this saying may be, it doesn't always work well in the real world of interpersonal relationships because the other person may not want done unto him what you want done unto you. In fact, you might actually annoy the other person by exercising this rule. Strange, but it's true. For example, let's assume that you are a friendly type of salesperson who likes to establish rapport with your prospect before you discuss business. So if you're going to exercise the golden rule and do unto your prospect what you want done unto you, you're going to spend some time being friendly and getting to know the prospect so you don't come across as being pushy. Now along comes a prospect who isn't interested in building rapport or having some salesperson try to get to know him. He just wants to buy something. In this case, your attempts at being friendly will simply annoy the other person. Now the platinum rule. That's why when a gentleman by the name of Tony Alcindra published this book called The Platinum Rule, I knew he was on to a winner. Paraphrase, the Platinum Rule states that we should do unto the others as they'd like done unto them. Now, that made sense. Of course, in order to be able to do unto others as they want done unto them, you need to make a major shift in focus from you to them. Now, you need to find out what they want done and when try to accommodate them. Now, if the salesperson we described earlier were now exercising the platinum rule, he or she would sense that the prospect wanted information and not friendship, and would get down to business faster. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't still be friendly and get to know the prospect, but you'll have to do it on the prospect's terms, not yours. And the silver rule is recognizing a good thing when I saw it. I immediately extrapolated the platinum rule into the silver rule of selling, which states sell unto others as they want to be sold onto. Now, all I had to do was figure out how people want to be sold to, and that's the conundrum. People don't like to be sold to, they like to buy. And personality counts. There are a number of forces at play here, one being the respective personalities of the salesperson and prospect. Without going into the whole lot of detail, people like amiable personality will usually annoy drivers, and vice versa, while people with expressive personality can often annoy analyticals, and again vice versa. And analyticals can annoy expressive. Now, I think this topic is so important that I have written a short ebook titled How Your Personality Impacts the Scale. Now, you'll find the link to download and blah blah blah, along with a simple instrument and blah blah blah. Now, exercising the silver rule. So, how do you exercise the silver rule of selling if people don't like to be sold to? You help them buy. In fact, my definition of selling and the one I espouse through all my training session is that selling is helping the prospect make an informed buying decision. As soon as you make the mental shift from trying to sell something to helping the other person make an informed buying decision, interesting things can happen. One is that you no longer have commission breath when using the silver rule. Another is the prospect begins to see you as a valued resource and not just a peddler. Yet another advantage of this approach is that people want to do business with you because you have removed all the pressure of the sale. Now, the potential downside, what if the ultimate outcome of making an informed buying decision is that the prospect shouldn't buy what you're selling? Then so be it, and that's what you tell the prospect. You may not get this particular sale, but who do you think that prospect is going to do the next time he's looking for something you're selling? You. Why? Because your honesty has earned his respect. Now, and respect can lead to bigger and better sales, and along with the strong referrals. Now, prospects have no problem recommending an honest and ethical salesperson who doesn't pressure people to buy but truly helps them make an informed buying decision. Now, giving selling a good name. If more of us stopped selling and started helping prospects to make an informed buying decision, we'd end up making more sales while working to erase the widely held view of the salespeople are just out to get people's money. Now, give the silver rule of selling some additional thought. It might just make you rich, both spiritually and monetarily. Now, the loneliest job in the world. This article is for those of you who have been in sales for some time and for whom the glow of the job is beginning to dim a bit. Some non-sales people think salespeople lead an incredibly busy social life, full of free meals and days on the golf course. That we get to travel to all sorts of interesting places and stay in the great hotels, eat in fancy restaurants, and get to meet and entertain all kinds of interesting people. What a wonderful life we lead, if only. Now, outside looking in. From the outside, selling certainly looks interesting, lucrative, and easy. After all we do is go around talking to people all day. There's another side of selling that these people don't see. In many cases, not even our spouses see it. The downside of selling. How many times have you returned home after a week on the road, tired and grumpy? Being on the road does that to you, only to have your spouse welcome you home and open arms, a litany of the week's problem and request to go out for dinner. After a week on the road, you're sick of eating out, and home-cooked meals, even if it's only wieners and beans, holds enormous appeal. Now, eating on the road alone is a bummer. I figured out a restaurant meal on the road costs me about $2 a minute to eat after it actually arrives at the table. Now, a $20 meal takes me about 10 minutes to consume. A $30 meal may be 15 minutes. This same meal shared with my spouse would easily last 4 times longer. It's lonely eating by yourself. Now, it is socially thriving as well. Then there is an all entertaining we're supposed to do. Entertaining is supposed to be fun and relaxing, friends meeting friends, having a good time. First of all, prospects, clients, and customers are rarely friends. At the best, they are business acquaintances and not people you can share private thoughts with. You need to be on your guard and whole time you're with them, so you don't say or do something inappropriate. Those of us who have let our guard down and lost a sale as a result can understand this. Others will have to make their own mistakes. Now, entertaining is not fun, it's socially draining. After a trip on the road, one of the last things I want to do is go out for a social evening, even with friends. I need time to recuperate. Many people believe most salespeople are social butterflies who spend their evenings on the road in whatever bar is handy, and in truth, many of us at the end of the day on the road are delighted to get back to our hotel room and wade through the paperwork and then collapse in front of the TV for some mindless viewing. Nothing too strenuous. Now, this is a very interesting word. Strenuous. I don't know if I got it right, but let me go ahead and let me just search it on Google and how to pronounce this word. Strenuous. Strenuous. Okay, now we have learned how to say strenuous, and it's the meaning for it is requiring or using great exertion. Strenuous though. Now, living out of a bag. Whenever I'm on the road, I try to spend the company's money as though it were my own, and consequently I stay in hotels I would normally stay in when traveling on my own nickel. The result is that I end up in clean, comfortable hotel rooms and of moderate size, with the telephone and computer jacks located on the wrong side of the room and on one chair that was designed as a medieval torture device. If you sit in front of it more than 15 minutes, I'm exaggerating a bit about this chair thing, but I do wonder if the people who decorate these rooms ever stay in them. The point is, people think that salespeople on the road stay in palatial hotels when in fact we don't. And if the truth be known, we'd probably be happier in our own beds. Now on the road again, you get up in the morning alone, have breakfast alone, drive to your first call alone, and go through a number of socially straining calls throughout the day, eat lunch alone, and make more calls, and then drive back to your hotel at the end of the day alone. Notice the word alone. For the sales people on this road, this is a very lonely job. Now top this off with the fact that not every sales call you make can turn into a sale. If you have 25% closing ratio, you get 3 no's for every yes. Not fun. Now, why do it? So why do we do it? Why do the salespeople do it? We all have our own reasons, and there are some mine. I like helping people, and being able to provide solutions to my prospects' problem fills that need. I enjoy the freedom that comes with being on my own, and I have the discipline to do what needs to be done each and every day, and not just when I feel like it. Now, selling has been lucrative, but I have earned every penny of it. I'm pleased that I have been doing and able to basically write my own paycheck all these years. I took home less pay and when I put in less effort, and more pay when I turned on the jets. I've met many people over many decades in sales and with a 25% closing ratio. I've met an awful lot of people who didn't buy from me but I never met a person who didn't end up liking. I had the opportunity to travel to places I would have never traveled to, and as well as some I'll never go back to again. All great experiences, though. All in all, sales and selling has been good to me, and in turn, I'm proud to consider myself a sales professional, even if it's a lonely job. Now, death of a salesman. So before I read this, let me see how many more topics that we have got in this first chapter of attitude and motivation. It's it's too much. So what we'll do is we'll come here with me and I'll place this guitar back to its place and we'll do some reading on the bed. Okay. I don't know if it zooms in. Perfect. Oh, it's too much zoomed in. Now, Death of a Salesman. Ever since Arthur Miller's play Death of a Salesman was first published in 1949, pundits have been using this overworked phrase to forecast the demise of practitioners of our profession. Reports of our death are apparently premature. Rather than dying off, there are probably more salesperson per capita than many other occupations. Mind you, sometimes of selling, and with it, sometimes of salespeople have died. The black-slapping, joke-telling, and low-content salesperson who roamed North America early in the last century with his carpet bag has become like the dinosaurs extinct. There is a different type of salesperson who is out there today and more professional and attuned to the prospect's need. Now, times have changed, times have certainly changed, and so has selling. The information explosion, both written and particularly electronic, has created more knowledgeable customers with an increased sensitivity to bullshit. A technical term. If you don't know your product or service extremely well, you cannot add value to the transaction. You are on the way to extinction. Now, when I say you must know your product or service, I don't mean what it is, but what it does and what it means to your prospect. While many people poo-poo fact and benefit selling, too many salespeople are still rattling off facts and features and expecting the prospects to uncover the benefits. If the prospect can say, "So what?" to your sales presentation, you are not doing your job. A classic example for this is the automobile salesperson who delights in telling you the car has a 225 horsepower, 16 overhead valve cam engines, and the ABS brakes. So what? And so what? And so what? What do any of those things mean to me? I'm the one of these people who doesn't really care what's the underhood when I'm buying a car. In fact, when I lift the hood, I'm hoping to see an off and off switch that just needs to be switched back on the on position in case of an engine failure. Now, knowledge isn't enough. Product knowledge isn't enough. Most salespeople are knowledgeable in the product services. Now, if only because the sales training they receive, the training usually consists of reading a catalog, product brochures, or data sheets. Frankly, based on my experience with a large number of people who call themselves salespeople, I'm not sure they even read this stuff. Salespeople become superfluous. Salespeople become superfluous when a product or service becomes commodity. In the last few years, we have seen computers become commodity, and I expect to see automobiles turn into a commodity before I retire from the sales profession. Now, as soon as the general public knows more about your product than you do, it is in the danger of becoming a commodity. And the internet is speeding up, and this commoditizing process by creating much more knowledgeable consumers. Now, the professional salespeople who survive the thrive in the 21st century will be those who bring something more to the sales and then a glib tongue and product knowledge. They will provide the value add of some kind. Now, standing out. The value add may be a service that goes above and beyond the expected. Simply taking the time to properly qualify our prospect by asking intelligent questions is a value-added service that most salespeople don't or won't offer. Too many seem to intend on selling before they qualify a prospect. Selling without qualifying is like a doctor who writes a prescription without first making a proper diagnosis. Not that any good doctor would ever do that. I remember being subjected to a 15-minute sales pitch by someone who should have known better. Now, without knowing anything about my company or me, the salesperson delves right into telling me all about his company and what they offered. My mind was wandering, and I was just about to say, let me tell you a bit about what we do here, in the hopes of getting him on track, when he finally ran out of things to tell me and started asking questions. This 25-year sales veteran had never had any formal sales training and was still operating under the old telling is selling philosophy. I only wish that this was a rare occurrence, but unfortunately, this type of selling still goes on today. Now, avoiding the trap. It's up to the salesperson to add value. Ask yourself, what can I do to bring additional value to the situation? What can I do to make a difference? And another way to avoid the trap is to putting yourself in your customer's shoes. If you were the customer, what might you want and why would you want it? A lot of companies use the internet to provide value-added material and information to their customers. They make their website a resource center. They can do the same thing by never selling empty-handed. Now, if every time you visit a customer or prospect, you had something of value for him, you become a valued resource and not just another salesperson. And when I say something of the value for the prospect, I don't mean data sheets and brochures. I mean something that prospect will consider important or of value. Now, years ago, when I was more actively selling, I used to find articles and other information that wouldn't be of my interest to my customers and make copies for them. I'd scour the trade journals and other publications for items I could copy and give out during my visits. Now, this technique was so popular with some of my customers that when I showed up on the visit, they'd ask me what I had for them that time. Now, premature death. If the salespeople develop the skill to add value and truly make a difference, reports of our death will indeed be a premature, and we will continue to live on for a long time. Now, don't just make a living, make a difference. As in the start of this whole book was, if you do what you have always done, you'll always get what you have always got. This is very important. Stop making a living and start making a difference. Which also points me to a very beautiful quote that I have always written on my whiteboard, which is, your ability to make great income in today's market is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. And the choices that you make each and every week will decide your future and not any other factor. Saying that the sports of selling, actually, selling is not a sport, but there are a lot of similarities between selling and sports. Now let's explore some of those similarities. First, let me define sports here. I'm referring to such sports as some basic skill and interaction with other people. I'm referring to sports such as baseball, hockey, football, tennis, soccer, and other sports involving some skills and interaction with other people. Now, before someone says, what about golf? I personally don't consider golf a sport. To me, it's an aggravation. Now, I suppose there is a certain amount of skill required in whacking a small ball around a sculptured lawn, but there seems to be very little interaction with the others beyond lying to one another about your golf score. What business interactions there are usually an extremely small part of the overall time taken to play a small game of golf. Now, I'm not saying that the golf does not have its merits. I'm just saying that I don't consider it as a sport. Now, the similarity, the superstars in both selling and sports make a lot of money. Although it seems to me that there's a lot of money on sports, less than superstars in both selling and sports can make a very comfortable living. Now, there are a lot of wannabes in both selling and sports, many of whom should probably be doing something else for a living. It takes a lot of drive, desire, and discipline to really succeed in both selling and sports. Now, there is a fundamental set of skills required in both selling and sports, and there is nothing inherently complex about either, just a set of simple rules to follow. Now, when I'm sure there are more similarities, there are the ones that stick out in my mind. The differences is, let's take a look at some of the differences that exist between selling and sports. I mean, in sports, people will practice and train for years and for a few moments of glory. Now, whereas in selling, people train and practice for a few moments and expect years of glory. Now, in sports, if you are playing field for a couple of hours at a time and sometimes only once or twice a week, then only a few seasons of the year. In selling, you are on the playing field 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 50 weeks of the year. Now, in sports, when you lose a game, you have your teammates to console you. In selling, when you lose a sale, you have to pick yourself up and get on to the next opportunity. In sports, if the team consistently loses, they fire the coach, not the players. In selling, if the team doesn't do well, they fire the salespeople and not the sales manager. And in sports, most teams have a coach whose sole purpose is to work with the players to help them achieve their best. In selling, the team have sales manager who becomes the time constraints. They may have a sales manager who, because of time constraints, usually limits his coaching, if done at all, a few moments at the weekly or monthly sales meeting. Now, coaching for success. I strongly believe that both sports and sales should have strong coaches whose prime purpose is to get the best out of their people. Now, show me a professional sports team without a coach, and I'll show you a disorganized team at the bottom of their league. Now, it's often the same with the sales team. The best sales teams have a coach, usually called a sales manager, and even if it's only on a part-time basis, the rest are left to their own devices. That doesn't mean they need to be without a coach. It just means that they need to coach themselves, and it can be done. Let me drink my Coke. Coaching for success. And what coaches do. Now coaches, good coaches, observe commitment. Observe, commit, observe, and they comment, and they correct, and they encourage. Now when coaches observe, they have a mental checklist of things to watch for, things that can make a difference of the person's performance, and they bring in the areas that requiring correction to the player's attention with their comments, and usually offer suggestions for improvements. Lastly, they offer encouragement and support, while others, no doubt, that have feeling and have an external coach is the best approach. You can self-coach yourself if it given with the right tools. Now, self-coaching, just like there are differences between sports and selling, there are differences between coaching and self-coaching. For one, the first thing you'll notice when you are self-coaching is that you are alone. The second thing is that it's difficult to do something and observe yourself doing it at the same time. Now then, of course, there's knowing what to observe. That's why I've developed a sales call self-coaching checklist. The checklist helps you to ask yourself the right questions and has a space to write down your answers, so you are differently, effectively able to observe and comment on the sales calls and you have just completed. Now look at it as sort of post-game analysis, where you want to see what went well and what could have been done even better and what you can do for the next call. The checklist has 37 questions in 8 sections, and it's complete with instruction for those who actually read instruction. Now there is a pre-call preparation, there's approach, there's probe, there's qualifying, and there's prove, and then there's objections, there's buying signals and closing, and then the follow-up call. Now before I read any further, I would like to turn on my humidifier because it's getting very dry in here. I don't know when people will understand the concept of having the right humidity in their houses. It's a very important concept for your better health, because if you don't have the right humidity in the house or in your room, then you'll probably start bleeding your nose, or you can also feel a very scratchy skin, and you can also feel that your skin feels dry, your throat feels sore, and there are many other reasons. It's a very adverse effect. It has a very adverse effect on your health if you're not in your in a right humidity room. Now, if you ask me what's the right humidity for your room, then I would say 30 to 40% would be an ideal humidity level in your room or in your house. And right now, if I can see in my house, it's like 12%. Now 12% is very dangerous for health. If you have the right humidity in your house, you're gonna have a very good mood, you're gonna have a very good skin, you're gonna not feel dehydrated, because humidity is absence of water and not actually water. It's the absence of moisture in the air. If your air is dry, then air has this property to hold water, and air wants to hold water, and that's why we have an atmosphere, and that's why we have clouds. Now if you don't have clouds and if the air is dry, there would be no air moisture, tiny water droplets, that is moisture in your air. Then what it will do is the air wants water, so the air will suck off all the water that is present over here. And where will it try to suck it from? It will try to suck it from your body and from your skin and from your throat and wherever there is an opening in your body, because your body emits water. And if your body emits water, because your skin has so many tiny pores that it it would take all the water from your body and you will start feeling dehydrated, which is I'm feeling right now. That's why it is very important to have the right humidity levels inside your room, especially if you're living with your family. Be careful, take care of your family, and have the right humidity level in your house, which I said is around 30 to 40% approximately. If you want to keep more humidity in your house, then you'll be ending up having a puffy face. The air will be sucking in the moisture from the air will start sticking on your face. It will start sticking on your body. And in the opposite, in the contrary, when you don't have moisture in your air, it will start to suck it out from your body, and that's why you feel a sore throat, or if you feel a scratchy, itchy skin, because it's trying to suck all the water from wherever it's available, and your body is consisted of like 70% of water if you drink water enough. Which reminds me of drinking water one more time from this huge jug, which I would chug. But don't chug your water. It's very, it will likely harm you than making any benefits. Just try to drink it by sip by sip. Talking a lot about water, let's get back to the checklist, which I talked about. The checklist uses terminologies that will be familiar to graduates of my pro-sale professional selling workshops. But other trained salespeople will have little difficulty knowing that we are talking about and will be able to effectively use the checklist. Now, be the best you can be. It is very important to be the best you can be, and good and great salespeople didn't get that way by sitting around waiting for something to happen. They made things happen. Now you can do the same. You can self-coach yourself to even greater sales success. Do it today, do it now, and do it. Do it, just do it. Now don't be your own worst enemy. Which means you are probably sitting in there thinking, why would I want to be my own worst enemy? And the answer, of course, is that you certainly don't want to be. But it happens, and it could happen to you as well. Now, I've seen salespeople with the potential to be top performers fall short because they either didn't know what it took to be a top performer, or they were new, then were too just lazy to do what was required. Now, getting out of the pack. If you take a group of 10 salespeople, and you likely find 2 really top performers, a pack of 5 to 6 who are okay, and 2 to 3 who should probably be doing something else for a living. I've seen so many salespeople in this category. A lot of people are quite comfortable being a member of a pack. That's a certain comfort in not standing out. There are fewer expectations made of you, and you're generally on the safe ground. When times are tough and the layoffs occur, sometimes people just get so deep into their personal comfort zone that changing is simply too much. Changing is simply too much an effort. Now, as I've often seen, this problem with the world is apathy. But then again, who cares? Who cares about apathy? Do you? Do you care about apathy? No, you don't. But anyways, not everyone is content to stay in the pack. Some are there due to circumstances beyond their control, while others are getting their act together and are almost ready to break out. They're almost ready to break out. It's this last group of people that this article is intended for. Those who don't want to be in a pack any longer and who aspire to move out and up in the sales food chain. Now the 3Ds, the Ds and the 3Ds, getting out of the pack is the most and the both simple and hard. The simple part is realizing that there are only three things you need to have to break free of the pack. And there are only three Ds: the desire, the drive, and the discipline to do what is required to get out. The hard part is finding sufficient quantities of those three elements. There are only three Ds that requires to get out of the pack. That is the three Ds, which is first is the desire, second is the drive, and the third is the discipline. You just need those three Ds, and the hard part is to find and finding sufficient quantities of those three elements. The desired part is the easiest of the three. Drumming up the desire is no more difficult than drumming up the desire to win a desire or a lottery. Now, who among us hasn't purchased a lottery ticket and when spent quality time daydreaming about what we would do with the $1 million paycheck? Now, it's fun. It's fun to think whom we should share some of our gold and the good fortune with, and who we wouldn't. Now, what we would buy and what we would do after we have got our hands on the money. So, what would you do if you became even more successful in sales? How would you improve? How would your income improve? Now, what should you do with the extra money? How would the extra income impact your family? And would you take more trips, better vacations, buy a new home, and the car of your dream boat? What happens to your desires when you let your mind and imagination go there? What would happen? And it probably goes up as it should. Now, the drive and discipline are the most challenging parts of the success equation. Now, just like you can't win a lottery without disciplining yourself to buy a ticket each week, you can't become a sales superstar without disciplining yourself to do what it takes to get there. So what does it take to be a superstar in your particular field? Know your numbers. What sales target do you need to set for yourself? How many sales do you have to close in order to exceed the target? And how many sales opportunities you are going to have to start in order to close enough and make your target? How many calls will you make and find out what the activity levels are for your specific business? You get the idea. If you're not sure where to begin and talk with some of the top performers in your company, what are their activity levels? Notice I didn't say that their performance levels, I said activity levels. Now, superior performance is the result of doing the right things, that is, activities. Now, the sales superstars have the discipline to do what non-performers want to do, and that is work their numbers. Last on our list is finding the drive to do all this. To a greater extent, drive is a function of attitude. And if you develop a can-do, will-do attitude, the basics of drive are there. Now feed your drive with a bit of desire from time to time, and you'll stay in the high gear. Remind yourself from time to time how your life and your family's life will improve when you reach your goals. It works. Now, SMART goals is very important. You have probably heard about setting SMART goals. The SMART, which has S for specific. Make sure that your goal is well defined and specific. Make sure it is measurable. Put a number on a goal. Make sure it's attainable. Make the goal realistic, and make sure it's relevant. Is the goal relevant to where you want to go or be? Time-based. Having a timeline for achieving the goal. All the goals that we create should be SMART. And the SMART goals has a very good abbreviation. And S stands for, it has to be specific, it has to be detailed, and it has to be well defined, and it has to be very specific. That's what S stands for. S stands for specific. What the M stands for? M stands for measurable. Your goal, if you cannot measure your goal, if you cannot put a number on a goal, it's not measurable. You have to make it measurable. And if it should be attainable, make the goal realistic. Relevant. Is the goal relevant to where you want to be or where you want to go? Make sure it's relevant, make sure it's attainable, and make sure, most importantly, it's very easy to get off track and lose time. It has to be time bounded. It has to be time based, and having a timeline for achieving the goal is very important. Now, I've seen a lot of people set smart goals that were never reached. Heck, I've got a pile of them myself, and I've set tons of goals for myself over the years, and now I've realized I was just setting dreams and not goals. I learned years ago that setting smart goals wasn't enough, and there's a secret ingredient that was missing from my goals. That is, the secret ingredient that is so simple, yet so elusive to all but those who possesses the 3Ds. And what is this elusive secret ingredient, you ask? It is an unreserved personal commitment to make it happen. That's why in the beginning of the session I told you non-negotiably is my favorite word of this year. An unreserved commitment to make it happen. You need to make it happen. It has to be an unreserved commitment. That's so simple that it's a secret ingredient. And it's yet so elusive to all but those who possess the 3Ds. And the 3Ds which we talked about is the desire and the drive and the discipline. The desire was the easiest part. You can desire so many things. But the discipline and the drive is the hardest thing of all. If you're not disciplined enough, then you cannot drive it. Even if you have the drive, even if you have the desire, but if you don't have the discipline to do it, nothing has been done without discipline. I have realized after a long time that even if I have the desire, even if I have the drive, even if I have the energy, but if I am not consistent, if I'm not disciplined, it's not gonna happen. I have been living with dreams and not goals, and it's very important to have goals and not dreams. It's very important to have dreams and goals, but it's very important to have goals which are smart, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Now the secret ingredient is there for anyone who wants it. But only the people with the 3Ds, the desire, the drive, and the discipline, will be able to action to it. Now, which one of those people will you be? Will you rise above the pack to join the ranks of the very successful? Or will you stop being your own worst enemy? I truly hope so. Now, selling in slow times. This is the most and the crucial topic, because in the year, you have got 12 months, and trust me, all the time, it will be a slow time. It is very hard, and it's a rare concept when you see that things are selling fast. Things only sell fast for a certain period of time. It's a very short. It's so fast that's why it's called selling fast. It's selling faster. And the time when it goes even faster, but when the times go slow, that's when your actual sales skill come in, and that's every salesperson eventually falls upon slow times, and whether it's a regular seasonal slump, marketplace readjustments, or economic downturn, it happens to all of us. For what salesperson do during this slow selling times, and what separates the wheat from the floor, and the wheat from the chaff, not the floor. Well, floor is made of the wheat, but the chaff, that is what separates the wheat. Now, the good from the bad, and the professional from the immature. The slow times actually tests you and actually shows that if you were a seller or just a professional or just the beginner as an amateur. Now, slow time blues. In slow selling times, retail salespeople can reorganize displays, restock shelves, do inventory, sweep floors, or stay around playing for someone to come into their store, at which they pounce on the unsuspecting prospect and regale them with their snappy opening. Can I help you? The general response, of course, is usually no thanks, just looking. Retail salespeople don't have many options. If they don't have someone to sell to, they pretty well have to wait until someone comes along. It's not the same for business to business or outbound salespeople. Oh, B2B salespeople can do some of the same things during slow selling times. We can reorganize our desks, restock our literature and supply, and clean out all the fast food containers from our vehicles. The one thing we can't or shouldn't do is stand around waiting for a prospect to press money into our hands. Slow selling times are when people should become proactive and not reactive. And we should try to make things like potential sales happen. Or at least we should get some potential sales started. Now, law of the sales jungle. I'm reminded of the law of sales jungle, which goes like this. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must have run faster than the fastest lion or it will be killed. Every morning the lion wakes up. Of course, in Africa, it knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. And it doesn't matter whether you are a lion or a gazelle, if you are in a sales, when the sun comes up, you better hit the road running. Now, so if you can't wait around for a prospect to stumble over you, what you can do, you can hit the road running and try to stumble over a prospect. That's what. Now it's called prospecting. Many of us old-timers of some of those newer to professional selling are familiar with the concepts of sales funnel and prospecting pipeline. The concept is as valid today as it ever was, and maybe more as we go into and out of slowing selling times. Now the sales funnel. The sales funnel is just like a funnel you might use to pour liquid from one container to another. Now, if you stop pouring the liquid into the top part of the funnel, fluid stops coming out of the bottom. If you try to pour too much liquid in at one time, the funnel overflows and you lose some of it. Now, you'll always also lose liquid if the funnel has leaks. If you have some blockages into your funnel, the flow may stop or back up, causing an overflow situation again. So how does this work for sales? Simple. If you stop putting potential sales opportunities into the top part of the funnel, closed sales stop coming out of the bottom. Now, if you try to put too many sales opportunities in at one time, the sales funnel overflows and you lose some potential sales. This can happen after a trade show or marketing campaign where you simply have too many leads to follow up in a timely manner. Now, you'll also lose sales if the sales funnel has leaks, and the leaks are simply lost sales that probably weren't going to happen in the first place. A blockage in your sales funnel could be something as simple as the inability to get proposal out in a timely manner, the inability to deliver on a specific date, or indecision on the part of someone in the company. Now, a blockage in your sales funnel could be something as simple as the inability to get proposal out in a timely manner, the inability to deliver on a specific date, or an indecision on the part of someone in the company. Now, it would be very nice if every sales opportunity you put into the top of the sales funnel pulled out of the bottom of as a closed sale, the percentage of the sales opportunity actually ended up closed your closing ratio. The 25% closing ratio means that you get close 1 out of every four sales you start. That you close 1 out of every 4 sales you start. Now, feeding the funnel. Just like a regular funnel can't go out and find liquids to pour into the top end, the sales funnel can't actively find potential opportunities. Now, that's your job. It's called prospecting, and the part of your job, particularly in slower times, is to keep a flow of potential opportunities flowing down through your prospecting timeline and the pipeline and into the sales funnel. Now, developing your prospecting pipelines is important as your long-term survival sales. If you just wait around for the company to supply your leads, chances are you'll slowly starve to death. In a metaphorical state, surprised you shouldn't be. The experience shows that the best salesperson are also the best prospectors. Now, typical pipelines. It's not a good idea to just rely on one source of prospects. Your company, for example, develop your own. Some typical pipelines are networking, if done properly, associations, mailing lists, trade, journals, old customers, existing customers, competitors. Yes, competitors in the internet. These are just a few of the prospecting pipelines that the professional salesperson should be aware of. Now, pipeline sizing. If you know your closing ratio, you can get an idea of the size of your prospecting pipeline. Let's assume your annual sales target or quota is 1 million and your average sale is 20,000. So some will be more and many will be less, but the average is 20,000. That means if you need 50 sales to make your quota, if your closing ratio is 25%, and you'll need 4 hot prospects for every sale, or 200 potential opportunities in the top of your sales funnel. Now hold on to your head, because the numbers get a bit worse, because everyone you talk to isn't a hot prospect. You need to find sources of suspects. People you think might be prospect. If you are good and can convert every 2 suspect into a prospect, then your prospecting pipeline must be capable of sustaining a flow of 400 suspects a year, or you're simply not going to make your quota. Now, do you have enough sources of leads to succeed? Think about it. Which are you? I started this article by mentioning that slow selling time separate from wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad, and the hawk who hunts for food from the baby bird who waits to be fed, and the professional from the amateur. Which are you? It's your choice. Now, when bad things happen to good salespeople, it was a nightmare Larry didn't need. First, there was an angry message on his voicemail from a large account wanting to know where the stuff was that was supposed to be on their loading dock 2 days ago. Now, then there was the message from the shipping department informing him that they couldn't ship because Shipment was on credit hold. Now finally there was a testy message from accounting telling him they didn't have the customer's credit application, and what he going to do about it? Now Larry's schedule for the day was going to be shot as he tried to get the problem solved. Now first he called the customer and let her tear a strip off his back, and he didn't deserve. Now during flogging, the customer informed him that she had returned a sex credit application several weeks ago, and if they couldn't even keep track of paperwork, maybe she should buy from someone who could. The customer wasn't a happy customer. Now, having just been beaten up by his customer, Larry was probably harder on the shipping manager than he should have been. Instead of being annoyed with the situation, he should have tried to get the bottom of the matter in a more rational manner, as it was. He ended up creating more problems along with some ill will than it was on the accounting department. For a salesperson, dealing with the accounting department is a challenge at the best of the times, and this wasn't the best of times. First, they insisted they didn't have the credit application and nothing, but nothing leaves the back door without a credit application. Then they implied the customer was probably lying, that hadn't sent an application at all. Finally, when someone discovered the misfiled application, they told him that would probably take at least 2 weeks to get it approved because they were so busy. Now Larry's suggestion that they might want to call the customer with an explanation and an apology was met with the stony silence. Therefore, thoughts of doing physical damage passed through his mind, but he left before he created even more havoc. Now, is this story far-fetched? Do you think is this story far-fetched? Because maybe, but I'll be there. I'll bet there's any number of salespeople who will say that this is mild compared to what they have gone through from time to time. You probably have your own personal horror stories. Now, how we handle situations like this separates the sales professional from the person who just happened to be in sales. A sales professional doesn't want or need problems like this, but he or she knows this type of thing comes with territory. Now, others often run and hide or wave their arms around, pointing fingers in all directions instead of trying to resolve the situation. Now, I've known people who wouldn't do an after-sales follow-up with a customer just in case something went wrong and the customer might be upset. Excuse me, what's wrong with that picture? That's like saying if you don't have the it's like saying if you don't know about the problems, it doesn't exist. Now, being afraid to call a customer doesn't make a problem go away. If anything, it will only get bigger. Now, problems happen. Always have and always will, and it is our responsibility to deal with these problems. Now, notice I said deal with, not solve. We can always, nor should we try to solve every problem, but we can deal with them. Here are some helpful tips on dealing with problems. First and foremost, quickly respond to the customer. The operative word here is quickly. Now, problems are like a noise in a dark room. The longer you take to find out what's causing the noise, the louder it seems to get. Now, apologize sincerely and empathetically. It does not matter who is responsible for the situation. A simple "I apologize for the situation" is a good start. Laying blame at this point sounds more like excuse making than problem solving. Now, let your customer rant. If he's really angry, he wants you to know more about it. So let him tell you. I know it's probably not your fault. You'd like to spread some of this blame around to others, but don't just keep repeating this mantra. I apologize for the situation. I apologize for the situation. I apologize for this situation until the customer comes back to the earth from the Mars. Now tell the customer that you are going to do and when it will be done. Now have a plan attack. Now have a plan of attack before you can call the customers so you're able to put his mind at ease that the situation, although bad, is under controls and steps are being taken to correct it. Now if possible, do something to ease this pain. Is there anything or you can do for the customer to lessen the aggravation? Can you offer a discount? Something for free? Offering a hand yourself from the nearest tree, although creative, is probably unacceptable. Now, above all, keep your promises. Remember, whatever you tell the customer will be perceived as a promise, so be careful what to say. If you fail to keep a perceived promise, these situations will get worse. On the other hand, keeping perceived promises makes you and your company look good, or at the least not as bad, and helps you put in relationship back to on the rails again. Now, one solution. As I noted earlier, you can't solve all the problems, but you need to know who is in your company and who can go with the customer's challenges. In the example above, it's obvious that the accounting department isn't going to fast track the credit application without some outside intervention from a higher authority. Now, should the salesperson ask his sales manager to step in, or should he or his manager talk to the president? We need to know the extent or lack of our authority and who can enlist to help us get a problem resolved. Now, we also need to learn from problems like this. The above situation would not have occurred from the accounting department and informed the salesperson before the ship date instead of after. The questions to ask are, what went wrong? How can we avoid the same problem in the future? And no one likes this problem because they can be growing experience for the salesperson with a proper attitude. Now, the 4 keys to sales survival. Now, when you consider how difficult sales it is, and the most people get into sales by accident, it's a wonder anyone survives at all. I don't know about you, I am one of those people who got into the sales by accident. As a young lad, I was employed as an electronics technician and was happy doing what I was doing. My boss, on the other hand, wasn't very pleased with a particular action I took while he was on vacation. So upon his return, he suggested to the company president that I'd be given another career opportunity, preferably offered me a job in sales instead. Now, considering the alternative as unemployment, I accepted. The adventure of a lifetime began. And what an adventure of the world of sales has been. I've met more nice people, done more interesting things, and had more ups and downs, and got into more trouble than I ever dreamed of. During my many decades in the world of professional selling, I have watched a lot of people come and go. And I have often wondered, why do some people last while others fall by the wayside? As I look back over the years and I think about others who have made a successful career in sales, I see common elements in the survivors. Key 1 is courage. While most get into sales by accident, survivors aren't afraid to run with their eyes closed. Sure, they bump into lots of things in the process, but nothing what causes permanent damage. Now, some newcomers to the profession might smile indulgently at the thought of courage being a key to survival, but they are the ones who haven't had to make dozens of cold calls before finding someone to sell, or make sales presentation with minimal information as many manufacturers sales reps must do, or spend hours upon hours on the phone trying to get appointments, like many people who sell financial services do. It takes courage and a strong belief in yourself to be in a good job that doesn't pay unless you perform. Now, there are plenty of people would be delighted to be in sales if someone would just give them salary. It doesn't take courage to collect a salary. Key to is discipline. Survivors know the job has its downside. There are things they'd rather not do, must do, if they are to make it over and long haul. Now, discipline, however, it's a foreign word to most salespeople. They prefer to do their own thing and don't like to be controlled or even held accountable if they can get away with it. Trying to get call reports or expense reports out of salesperson is like trying to pluck a live chicken. Difficult, frustrating, and little ease. And forget about getting a weekly agenda. Many salespeople don't know where they're going to be an hour from now, and let alone 5 days from now. The successful ones, the survivors. Now the success is more a result of planning and then good luck. They learned long ago that if they plan their work and work their plan, they can have a much better chance of long-term success. Now survivors know that they have to do what other salespeople won't do if they are to last in the profession. Now key 3 is optimism. It's probably comes as no surprise that this is the third eye. Optimism can be defined as the ability to keep going in the face of defeat. Metropolitan Life, in conjunction with the University of Pennsylvania, found that in the first 2 years of the job, salespeople would score high for optimism. Sold 37% more insurance than more pessimistic counterparts. In another interesting experiment, MetLife hired optimistic applicants who otherwise failed to meet their standard of employment trust criteria. This group outsold their pessimistic counterparts by 21% in the first year and 57% the next. The successful seasoned salespeople I have known over the years all have the quality of optimism. They have the ability to carry on while others say, "The heck with it," and quit or go home early. Now these people don't let rejections get them down. They roll with their punches and come up ready to go extra mile while using their courage and discipline. Key 4 is persistence. Now, too many salespeople quit too soon. We need to be like a postage stamp and stick to the job until it's done. Now, successful salespeople know this, that they know that it takes many calls to make a sale. They know that 81% of sales are made after the 5th call. And the most salespeople, 84%, will have quit by the 3rd call. Now, this one key alone, persistence, has been the no. This one key alone, that is persistence, has been the number one factor in many people's salespeople's success. An associate of mine, Paul Crozier, has the same philosophy. You either buy or you either die. And he'll stay with you at the end. Some of your clients have named him Mr. Velcro because of his professional persistence. Paul knows the difference between being persistent and being a pest, and he has gotten sales that less persistent salespeople would have given up on. Now, selling is not easy. Selling isn't for everyone. If selling was easy, everyone would be doing it. And if everyone isn't selling because many lack personal qualities required to survive in the sales environment. So, to survive in the wonderful world of sales, you must have a strong belief in yourself, the courage and the discipline to do what unsuccessful people won't do, and the ability to maintain a positive, optimistic, and a mental attitude. Right? So it is very important to know, to survive in this wonderful world of sales, you must have a strong belief in yourself, and the courage and the discipline to do. Now, what unsuccessful salespeople won't do, and the ability to maintain a positive, optimistic, and mental attitude. Selling truths and selling secrets. Now, gather around all ye who are in sales and sit at the feet of the sales wizard while I share profound secrets and insights from my bubbling cauldron of sales wisdom. Now, when you take away all the about type or hype, these secrets are not so profound. Just simple truths of selling that have stood the test of time and will continue to do so. Now, what I find so surprising is either salespeople don't know them, or they've forgotten they exist, or perhaps they are just ignoring them or whatever. How many of you have forgotten over the years? Now, people buy from people they know, and people they like, and the people they trust. People buy from the people they know, people they like, and people they trust. So now here's an old chestnut that's so true it hurts. How many times have you met a salesperson whom you didn't buy from and he was the last salesperson on earth? That this truism explains why relationship building is so important in sales. People buy, but people still buy from people, and if the element of trust, etc., isn't there, then there's no sale. People buy from people they know, people they like, and the people they trust. So, if people buy, but people still buy from people, if the element of trust is not present, then there is no sale, my friends. There is no sale. Now, the prospect who wants to buy from you can justify anything. They can justify literally anything. The prospect who wants to buy from you can justify anything. If the prospect knows, likes, and trusts you, then price, terms, or conditions will not be a roadblock for the sale. It's often been said that you must sell yourself before sell your product or services. And while this is true, many salespeople feel that the best way to sell themselves is to tell prospects how wonderful they and their company are. Wrong. You sell yourself by taking the time to truly understand your prospects' wants and needs. Let's give it a read again. The prospects who wants to buy from you can justify anything. Now, if the prospect knows, likes, and trusts you, then the price, the terms of conditions will not be a roadblock to the sale. And it's often been said that you must sell yourself before you sell your product or services, and While this is true, many salespeople feel that the best way to sell themselves is to tell prospects how wonderful they and their company are. Garbage. That's totally wrong. You sell yourself by taking the time to truly understand your prospects' wants and needs. Sell on price and die on price. Now, if your biggest selling feature is your price, you are vulnerable to every Tom, Dick, and Harriet who operates on a shoestring and who can better your price, actually. You can't always make up on the volume that you lose on margin. Now, too many salespeople forget the basic law of discounting that states the bigger the discount, the more you have to sell just to stay where you are. For example, if you have a 20% margin and you discount your price by 10%, then you have to sell twice as much. That is 100% more to make the same profit. Remember, the bills and salaries are paid from gross profit and not gross sales. Now, know why you are better than or different from your competitors. Now, if you don't know why you are better than or different from your competition, or you can't articulate it, don't expect your prospects to figure it out either. And if your prospects can't see you are better than or different from the competition, then their buying decision will be based on price. And if your prospects can't see you are better than or different from the competition, then their buying decision will be based on price. And by the way, you don't have to be better than your competition, just different enough to give prospects a reason to buy from you. Now, people buy for their own reasons and not yours. This explains why it's a whole different and whole lot easier to make a sale when you can understand what the prospect needs and why she needs it. Could this be why the qualifying stage of the sales process is so important? A corollary to this gem is that people buy in their own time frame and not yours. Trying to push a prospect to buy before she is ready is as fruitless as pushing a string and expecting it to go wherever you want to. And you can't sell everyone everything every time. But don't we like to try? The trick for the skilled sales professional is to find out who, what, and when. That's why you need to know what questions to ask before you start to sell. And sometimes you need to disqualify a prospect if you are to be more effective as a salesperson. Now, this helps you to avoid spending time with people whose primary function in life seems to be a waste of your time. Now, if you always do what you have always done, you'll always get what you have always got. The classic definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. If you want to change your sales results, you have to change the way you go about getting business. Now, too often we stumble around in our comfort zones and complaining about poor results. Now, when we should be stretching our sales wings and moving to new territories or opportunities. Now, if you can't help a prospect, send him a competitor who can. Not everyone agrees with this philosophy, but I have made some pretty big subsequent sales to people I originally sent to a competitor. That action established me as someone who cared about this prospect's best interest and not someone who was just out for a fast buck. It also established me as someone the prospect can trust to and give him an honest answer to his questions and needs. Trust and credibility are fragile things and hard to earn and easy to lose. Now sell to a prospects who can buy. I'm amazed at the number of salespeople who would rather spend time with a bad prospect than no prospect. It's as though their primary function as a salesperson is to be talking to somebody. There's an old axiom that says if you want to make a sale, you have to talk to the man, the person with the money, authority, and need. Make sure you're not talking to a PWOT that is a potential waste of time. If you are a potential waste of time, you are not the man with the money and the power and the authority and the need. There you have it. The Sales Wizard's 9 fundamental truths of professional selling. Not only is the list not exhaustive, but I'll bet many of you have the secrets and truths of your own that you have learned from attending universities of what's happening now, otherwise known as street smarts learned at a school of hard knocks. Now, are you running on empty? So we are very close to complete our first chapter, which is attitude and motivation. Now, before I read any further, I would like to go ahead and what I'll do is, it's not, yes, I'll go ahead and heat my food up. So I have started my food. It will be ready. It's being heated. Tired, run down, listless, crabby, running out of gas? Don't be surprised. Those of us who have survived the last 5 years or more of recessions, economic turmoil, pandemics, etc., have been through a lot. It's been a trying time for anyone in sales. As my first boss always used to tell me, these things are sent to test us. Survivors. It's taken a lot of desires and discipline to survive. Those who have are tired, and some of are burned out, and many are running on empty. Now see if you recognize any of the signs. You don't look forward to Mondays like you used to, and Fridays can come soon enough. Telephone handsets feel heavier than a 10-pound bag of potatoes and are getting harder to pick up. You think dark, ugly thoughts whenever you get someone's voicemail. You spend more time in the office than you used to. Now you're snapping at your spouse for no reason, and the kids get on your nerves more than normal. You go to the bed tired and wake up even more tired, and you need a vacation but feel you cannot afford the time or money to take one. If this is you, it's time to get control of the situation. This is the time to call on your reserves, reassess the situation, and retrench and move forward. If it all sounds easy, but it isn't, there are a few ideas. First and foremost, take a vacation and get your batteries recharged. If possible, take 2 or 3 short vacations a year rather than one long use. Now use the time to do a mental dump of all the work-related problems you carry around each day and get reacquainted with things and people you like and enjoy. Now take a fresh look at how you're doing the job. Have you stopped doing the things that made you successful in the past? Are you getting bored with this sales presentation and starting to leave paths off of it? Or are you making fewer calls? Reassess, reconstruct, and get reacquainted with the things people you like and enjoy. Now start keeping score differently. Rather than just counting sales or commissions, just keep a score of the activities that help make sales happen. That is, keep count of the keep count of the number of calls you make, presentations, follow-up, referrals, etc. Now challenge yourself to improve the numbers. Set short-term, daily, weekly, personal and business goals to give each day a focus and take pleasure in reaching those. Reward yourselves when you reach a potential personal milestone and complete against yourself and not others. Bold new sales world. The last few years have given birth to the number of changes. There are a lot fewer career salespeople plying the trade. There are a lot of wannabe salespeople around, and prospects are more tight-fisted than ever. You are working harder than ever before just to keep up. Now, fewer career salespeople. In earlier times, selling was much easier than it is today. All some salespeople had to do was to stand in front of the prospect with a hand out, and prospect would put some money in it. Now, even professional career salespeople got lazy. Now, today, prospects want much more than an open hand. They want and demand professionalism, service, and value more than ever before. As times got tough, many career salespeople couldn't make the transition from order taker to order maker and have dropped out the profession. Now, the best way to stay a career salesperson is to avoid complacency and continue to develop your selling skills through courses and reading. Now keep yourself mentally and physically fit through exercise. Choose your business friends and with care, and find like-minded, successful salespeople to associate with. Now, more wannabe salespeople. Companies are downsizing and thousands of people are looking for new ways to make a living. Now, many are finding their way into sales because it looks so easy and because employers don't take the time and effort to hire smart. Some employers seem to think if a person can walk and talk, can probably sell. That is not the way this way. Now, all this does is clutter up the marketplace with a lot of amateurs who make things worse for the rest of us who are working our hearts out. Now, those of us who have invested the time and effort and money to learn profession can still take pride knowing that we can stand above the rest of the pack. Now, the tight-fisted prospects. Why should our prospects be any less vested with their money than we are with ours? Is it the same everywhere? People are being more cautious before spending their hard-earned dollars. Our prospects are no different than we are. We are looking for the biggest bang for our buck, and that means value. Even the most tight-fisted prospect will open his hands if you give him enough reasons to do so. Now, those reasons are called benefits, but too many salespeople still talk features and facts instead. How about you? Can you effectively answer the questions? Why should a prospect buy my product or service? Now, amidst the economic gloom and the undisputed fact that the people are still spending, no one has cut the money supply. You simply have to give them enough reasons, benefits to buy. Now, there's still a lot of money floating around, and it's up to you to get your share out of it, which leads us to working harder. Now, those people who weren't prepared to get off their duffs and put in the efforts, you have fallen by the wayside. Sales never has been easy and has become even harder. The market is tougher and the prospects are more demanding. And the competition is intense. And yes, we all have to work harder with less to accomplish more. But that's what being a career salesperson has always been about. Some of this work needs to be done after working hours. Catching up on your reading or doing expense and call reports should all be done outside prime selling time. And sales never was and will never be a 9 to 5 job, or at least not for those who want to make a career of it. Now the future is for those who make it happen. And selling has changed, but there will always be a need for good salespeople. And the successful ones will have to be better organized and more knowledgeable and even more determined than ever. So don't let yourself run out of gas, because more than ever before, you have to be prepared to get the extra mile, and you can do that if you're running out on empty. Now stop shooting yourself in the foot. Selling is difficult enough without going around and shooting yourself in the foot at a time. Here are 10 career limiting mistakes typically salespeople make, along with some possible solutions. Mistake 1. Poor organizational skills. Most salespeople are born with the birth defect. Organizational gene in their DNA structure is missing, and they resist all attempts to be organized. Now, the solution to this is discipline yourself to get organized. Go into periodic organizational frenzies. Every 2 or 3 months, stop whatever you're doing and organize your desk, your customer records, and your sales records, and your literature, etc. Then mistake number 2, lack of motivation or enthusiasm. Now, salespeople go up and down more times in a day than most other people do in a month. These wild emotion swings come up with the territory. You leave in one good call only to walk into a couple of bad ones. And you are on your own out there, and you need to keep yourself up. Now, the solution for this is to remember the power of PMA, that is positive mental attitude. Now, use self-talk to unleash your inner power. When the poop hits the fan, think about the good times and the good sales calls. Remember, everything has a time limit, and even the bad times. Now, mistake number 3 is not making enough calls. While selling may not be about the numbers game, but there is a game of numbers that pertains to selling. For example, if you don't call on enough people, you won't make enough sales. And most salespeople don't know how many suspects they need to contact to generate the necessary number of prospects that are required to make enough sales to make quota. Now, put another ways, most salespeople don't make enough calls because they don't know how many calls they should be making. The simple solution to this is keep personal performance numbers, know your closing ratio, go back over your contract records to see how many calls you have to make before you close one sale. Now, use that number to make sure you're calling on enough people to make your quota. Mistake number 4 is to failing to qualify. A lot of salespeople would have rather spend time with a poor prospect than no prospect, and will waste time by not qualifying a person before they start selling to him. Now, another reason salespeople don't bother to qualify a prospect is because they think telling is selling, and all they have to do is talk long enough and prospect will buy. Now, the solution is to understand that people buy for their reasons and not yours, and qualifying process is where you find out that those reasons are. Now, learn to ask open-ended questions and draw the prospect out and find out that they want and why they want it. Now, the mistake number 5 is poor product knowledge. Too many salespeople read their product literature and then become nothing more than a talkative catalog. And they'll get so full of facts and features that they don't remember, and they forget people buy the product of the product benefits, not the product. It has to be the product benefits and not product. The simple solution to it is like remembering that your prospect all listen to radio station WIFM FM. It's what's in it for me. And you need to broadcast on the prospect's frequency by telling them that what your product or services will do for them and not what it is. Now, mistake number 6 is poor prospecting skills. Now, lots of salespeople are unclear of just who is a good prospect, so they end up with poor prospects who don't buy. The second reason for this problem is that salespeople forget prospects don't just walk in the door. You have to go out and get them. This means that cold calls, and most salespeople would rather stand under the cold shower, fully dressed and tearing $100 bills and then make cold calls. The solution is know who is a good prospect for your products or services. Learn to disqualify people and stop wasting time with the PWOTs, potential waste of time. Find ways to warm up cold calls. It's time to warm up cold calls and not just learn to know who is a good prospect of your products or services, and learn to disqualify people and stop wasting time with your PWOTs, that is potential waste of time. Find the ways to warm up the cold calls. And the mistake number 7 would be low persistence. Now, salespeople suffer from poor discipline and forget that 81% of sales are made after the 5th call. Unfortunately, 84% of the salespeople quit after their 3rd call. Now, solution to this would be remember the magic number 5 and hang in there until the prospect either buys or dies. Now, the mistake number 8 is mishandling objection. And this is my personal favorite. Many salespeople confuse questions with objections and will turn a simple request for more information into an objection handling disaster. They are also unprepared to handle their most common objections, which is the solution to this would be the average salesperson probably sees 4 to 5 common objections and need to develop professional responses to each one of those. For example, if you often hear, "I'm happy with my current supplier," or "your prices are too high," and be ready to handle those objections in a professional manner and not stumble around like a clown with a mouthful of marbles. Now, falling and failing to close, that would be the mistake number 9, and we are very close to our mistake number 10, which I'll disclose after the mistake number 9, is failing to close. Now they're afraid to ask for the business, and that's all. Closing is asking for the business. They fear the no. Apparently, no's are the 8 to 10 feet tall and made from solid concrete. And if a no falls on you, it will crush you to death. I've never had a salesperson die from getting a no, but I've seen 2 who had heart attacks when they received a yes they didn't expect. Now the solution to it is develop 1 or 2 closes that you are comfortable with and practice them until they become the second nature. My personal favorite is the negative direct question close. Is there any reason why we shouldn't go ahead with this? Learn to use the trial closes to test the water before jumping in with your close. Now the mistake number 10, which we are all aware of, is failing to work harder and smarter. Now too many salespeople look for the easy way to sales success. It doesn't exist. Everyone wants to work smarter, including me, but it's the ones who work smarter and the harder will come out successful in the end. Selling is not a lazy person's career. Now a simple solution to this would be, remember, selling is not a 9 to 5 job. Start early, finish late, and sell like hell in between. Now stop shooting. So keep your gun in your holster and avoid these mistakes. Now coach yourself for long-term sales success. And this would be our final topic for tonight, and which will be winding up in like next 10 minutes. Now almost every top performer has a coach. Whether it's an individual like a golf pro Tiger Woods, who had Chuck Harmon as his personal coach, or one of the many sports teams, the coach is there to help develop superior skills and get the performance, and the best performance, to be honest. In the ideal sales world, you would have a sales manager who has the time and knowledge and the ability to be your personal coach. Well, I feel this is the job of the sales manager. Many can't do that job for a pile of reasons. Like the salesperson and the salespeople they manage, sales manager, are in the constant time crunch to have to prioritize their activities. While coaching is important, there are often more important priorities that need to be attended to. In the absence of having your sales manager coach you, you must do it yourself. The benefit of a coach. There's an old saying, if you are not getting better, you are getting worse. Unfortunately, this is true in sales, and there's thousands of salespeople wandering around the streets today getting worse. These people think that they know it all and see no reason to keep their once sharp selling skills honed like a professional. Now, professionals don't rest on their laurels. Take the professional golfer who misses a 10-foot putt for $100,000 prize. Now, where do you think he's the next day? Certainly not sitting around feeling sorry for himself. He and his coach are probably out. He and his coach are probably out on the putting green, refining his putting skills. Now, some pro golfers who don't have a professional coach will often set up video cameras to record their swings so they can analyze it at a later date. And there are self-coaching themselves. Basically, if you want to stay ahead of your game, but be it sports or selling, you must constantly move forward or fall behind. Now, this is where self-coaching can help. Now, coach yourself. Self-coaching needn't be overly painful. It's not like giving yourself an appendectomy It might seem that you are tearing your guts out, but that's only if you're being excessively hard on yourself. Now, there are some rules to follow to effectively coach or self-coach yourself. One way is to minimize the pain and make the experience beneficial, is to follow these rules. These rules for self-coach, which I'm going to share, is first would be, here are some keys to self-coaching. Have the right attitude. You must be willing to grow and have a desire to be the best you can be. And be positive and be committed. A major key to success is self-coaching. Is the ability to be objective and intensively honest with yourself. No self-delusions are allowed in self-coaching. Maintain an open mind and approach the project looking for ways to improve. And learn from your missteps and mistakes. Missteps and mistakes. Be aware of your natural tendency to become defensive when things don't go the way they want them to. Now, whatever happened, learn from it. Become highly aware. Develop a split personality where one of you is making the sales call and the other one is watching the sales being made. Now learn how to reflect on and deconstruct your experiences. After the call is over, think back on what happened and take the call apart and then pull it back together again. Use a checklist. Using a checklist is very important. I have developed a sales call coaching checklist to help you with your sales self-coaching. The checklists are intended to guide you as to what to watch for when making a call and contains 37 questions in 8 sections. Now, don't put off the length. You won't answer every question every time, and you don't necessarily complete a checklist after every sales call. Now, plan on only doing a set number of self-evaluation a month and check a week or a day. For example, you may decide to do 3 a week or 1 a day. Whatever, you are only going to complete the section of the checklist that are appropriate to the call you made, not every section. Other points on how to use this form is use it as soon after the call as possible. Familiarize yourself with the list by reading it over several times and before you use it. That way you'll have a sense of what you're looking for and when actually making a call. Now, don't plan on using the checklist forever, but commit to using it from time to time on a regular basis to eliminate bad habits before they become entrenched. Now, as I mentioned, don't let the fact that there are 37 questions to you to put off. Now, you're only going to answer the appropriate ones. Use the checklist to identify potential problems areas and focus your self-improvement efforts on finding and fine-tuning them. Don't give yourself a hard time if a call doesn't go exactly the way you want it to go. As you were aware, selling is extremely dynamic and bad things can happen to good people as well. Now, use the call as a learning experience and above all, use it on a consistent basis to stay sharp. Now, pre-call checklist would be, here is the novel use for the checklist is use it as a pre-call checklist. Review it before making a call, not afterwards. Just like professional pilots use a pre-takeoff checklist to make sure they don't forget anything, the professional salesperson can use the pre-call checklist for essentially the same purpose. Now remember, sales success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. This checklist is your key to remembering the fundamentals of the professional selling. So it is used, so use it and coach yourself in long-term success. We'll go and check this checklist before we end our session of today. So it's page number 227, which is the very end of this book, I guess. Almost the end. I think it takes a deeper dive into going through the checklist, because checklist itself ends the book, which we'll go through it in the next session, where we'll be talking more about the secrets of professional selling. The Secrets of Professional Selling by Brian L. Jeffrey. It's the sales wizards of the secrets of selling and the secrets of professional selling. This is what we were reading. We have finally completed 40 pages. More than that, I guess. 45 pages in the whole session, and we talked about attitude and motivation in the first chapter, which talked about selling is easy. Well, no. Selling is giving salesperson a bad name. Well, no. The loneliest job in the world is the salesperson's job. Death of a salesman. The sport of selling. Don't be your own worst enemy. Selling in slow times. When bad things happen to good salespeople. The 4 keys to sales survival. Selling truths and sales secrets. Are you running on empty? And stop shooting yourself in the foot and coach yourself to long-term sales success. This is what we covered in today's session. Next, we're going to be covering organization and self-development. And before that, we'll go through the sales and pre-sales checklist, and we'll do a further discussion on it. I would highly appreciate for being so patient, for listening to me so patiently, and joining in today's session on secrets of professional selling. All right, thank you so much for joining today and being so patient and so kind. I really appreciate that you sat down for over the course of time till this very moment and listen to me so patiently. I highly appreciate it. I'm really happy that you are planning to grow and grow as fast as I want you and myself to go and grow. Once again, thank you so much, and we will continue in the next one. And I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, wherever you're watching this, and whenever you're watching this. If you would like to see it again, go ahead, see it again. I would be even more happy and be happier and the happiest person. It is for you and it is for me that we are trying to do all these things. We are trying to up the game with learning the secrets of the professional selling here tonight with me. I'm right now in Canada. Time is 8:20, and today is February 10th. On the top of my mind, yes, it's February 10th. The time is right now 8. Oh, it's 2020 right now. Wow, it's a perfect time. It's time to manifest good things. And thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, and wonderful night. And once again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, and a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.